almost 70 years, the Virginia International Raceway has stood the test of time. It has not undergone a single alteration to its track layout, save for the addition of a few through roads to make some new ones. And it is not that main circuit, but of course the south layout of 1.6 miles that will host the season opener of the Beer League. This is the Oak Tree Memoriam on Green Flag TV. What better place to duke it out for the next 2 hours than at America's Motorsports Playground? Good afternoon, everyone, one and all, and welcome to the show. My name is Lola Rambo. Austin Edstrom should be joining us pretty soon here. We'll hope that he'll be able to find his way in here. But for now, you got my lovely voice to kick you off with some racing action here on this absolutely beautiful Wednesday night. 20 minutes is coming on up for qualifying, followed by that 15-minute sprint race, plus, of course, the feature race that'll take up the next hour after that. It is a long track, and boy, it is a fun track. It is not this really traditional layout that we see being used. Once again, that south layout, only 1.6 miles. The front straightaway starts on the back straightaway, and turn one is a 180-degree right-hander at the top of the rise, where you dive right back down the hill. It is going to be an absolute roller coaster of a racetrack here this afternoon. And we are getting set to see what some good old-fashioned racing action will look like with the Toyota GR86s. We mentioned qualifying is currently underway. First of the drivers have already started to put down on their next qualifying laps, as for the most part, drivers are looking to make their way up and around. Now, there's not a lot of rubber down to the racetrack right now. This track is very much slick as things stand. It was raining just prior to the practice session going live here, and this track was still having water kicked up from the tires as little as 15 minutes away from this qualifying session starting out. So it'll be interesting to see what these guys are going to be able to make out of this racing action here this afternoon. You've got right now 40-plus cars that are all on track at the exact same time, and all of them trying to put down a qualifying lap. It is a 20-minute session. We are 2.5 minutes in. Not a single lap has been put down as of yet. You're following Chris Hannigan in his efforts to try to put down a qualifying lap, and he will be one of the first cars that will try to put down that qualifying lap as well. Just ahead of him is Eric Rodenberg in the 017 as he works his way into the final corner, right where that famous oak tree used to stand. Austin Tucker puts down the benchmark time. Alex Cofford 5.5 seconds behind him. Meanwhile, Eric Rodenberg comes across, and he will only go fourth quick for his first lap. Chris Hannigan will go to the top of the boards with the 1:16.29. The lap times falling in quickly, as we expected them to do so here in qualifying. As they're off the track goes Morgan Otto. He'll have his first qualifying attempt invalidated. Aaron Thacker trying to work his way back up to the start-finish line, this time by. And at the stripe, Thacker will go to the top of the boards, getting a good draft from the car just ahead of him. That would be Blake Gambro, who goes 12th quick on the boards. So first salvo of laps is in. 24 cars, that is less than half the field, have put down times here this afternoon. So again, going to be, I think, a very, very wild night of racing as you take a look at the exact qualifying times. That'll be up at the top of the timing boards for you there. Right now, Thacker leads from Hannigan, and Aaron Thacker, the only one to put into the 1:15s. Austin Tucker gets a bit close to that mark, but his time only good enough for second fastest on the boards. Trying to track down one of the drivers that might be starting one of his laps. Let's take a ride on board here with a driver that's hopefully in a little bit of clean air. We'll try to see if we can track one down. There's not a lot of clean air out there on the racetrack right now, though, as you can tell. It is a packed circuit with everybody trying to put down a qualifying lap at once. Let's ride on board with Todd Madole. He'll take you for a lap around this absolutely fantastic Virginia International Raceway. When we say it's a roller coaster of a track, we mean it's a roller coaster of a track. Tabador was on for a good lap, but I think that off that he just had there at the final corner might invalidate this lap, and it will not. He will go 20th quick on the boards. Lap times continuing to tumble down. Chris Flams, a driver that went for an almighty barrel roll just 1 week ago, is on his way up to the top of the boards. He sits just 200ths of a second and just a few thousandths ahead of third-place runner Alex Crawford. It is tight right now at the top of the points boards. We check back in on other drivers that have yet to put down a lap. Alexander Hammers on his first lap. It will be invalidated, though, as he goes off the circuit down to the bottom of the hill, just shy of the South Bend. That was on the exit of the Fish Hook. You see cars firing off the track left, right, front, and center. One thing you may have noticed on that drive is, of course, the fact that there's not a lot of braking boards around this track. It does make it very hard to sight your braking points. And just as we saw last week as well, one driver has not gotten the message that the weather has changed. Ben Williams out there at the moment on wet weather tires. He should be on dries. The entire field is. Morgan Otto made the same mistake at the Glen, and come to find out later, he had no idea he was on wet weather tires. But Ben Williams running the wet weather compound of the Toyota GR86 as he's going to find himself with a bit of a struggle to try to make up any kind of a good momentum. Chris Hannigan goes to the top of the boards at the 1:15.49, an absolutely flying time for the Team Diabetes machine for Sonic Burgers. Still waiting to see if other drivers will be able to make their way across the line. Tanner Klein off the racetrack just shy of the front straightaway. Seeing what Robert Kulikowski can do. Kulikowski has yet to put down a lap time, and he's going to go flying off of the police car and slams into the modal tire barriers. Not an ideal run for him. And Chris Bright going to have a lap invalidated as laps getting scratched left and right from the timing boards already almost halfway through this 20-minute qualifying session. For those that are unfamiliar and might not know quite what a qualifying session is in comparison to the race, this is just determining where we're going to start racing action tonight. So whoever can set the fastest lap time starts on the pole for a 15-minute sprint race. Now, the top 12 finishers from that 15-minute sprint race will be able to have those points. They'll score points for the championship, but then they will be reset for a 1-hour main event where all of the racers will be able to get themselves into contention. Ron Wolf goes second quick on the boards of the 1:15.8. But once again, so there's a top 12 invert that we've got going on here for the beer league, and that will mean that first place will start at 12th, second place starts 11th, third place starts 10th, so on and so forth. The driver that finishes 13th in the sprint race will still start 13th in the main event, and so on and so forth all the way back. There are over 50 cars right now that we've got registered and ready to rumble, and the crazy thing tonight is the fact that there is only 12 pit stalls. 12 pit stalls amidst a 50-plus car grid. It is going to be a ride trying to get these guys into pit road for pit stops, whether it's under green or under yellow. Nate Brooker firing across the line. The British bomber only good enough for 31st on the boards. He puts down a 1:16.96. What about Adam Joseph Mailhaw working his way into the final corner, this time by as we will hit the halfway mark in qualifying. And Mailhaw improves up to 34th. Got a couple of rookie drivers making starts here this afternoon. Among those is Keaton Cruthers. Cruthers or Cruthers? Apologies if I've butchered any one of those names. But the Canadian making his beer league debut here this afternoon from America's Motorsports Playground. Other than that, it is much the same crowd that we saw last week with a few regulars making their return. 48 cars have put down times so far. There's 53 that have registered for this race. So we could get a maximum 53-car grid. And still with a handful that have yet to put down laps. Tyler Vietnam and Chris Bright are two drivers among that are both working their way across the start-finish line. Vietnam will not get a lap time this time by. Neither will Chris Bright. Bright is now on his 8th attempt to try to put down a qualifying lap, and every single time the Flying Donuts machine has gone off the circuit. He's got to get his head in the game, or it is going to be a world of hurt when we go racing for that sprint race coming up in the next little while. You see Vietnam spearing off the racetrack, while other drivers continue to pick their way quite steadily around the racetrack. Aaron Thacker trying to improve on his 4th place time. He will not be able to do so this time around. An effort was made, though. Keithan Cruthers will improve to 2nd, and now sits just shy of being 0.2 of a second behind Chris Hannigan. 8.5 minutes to go as Dylan Fisher will go 34th quick on the boards this time by. And whoa, around goes Kulikowski as Alex Crawford will go to the top. Provisional pole for Crawford with a blistering 1:15.1. Punches his ticket to pole by 0.3 of a second over Chris Hannigan. A flying time for your defending champion. While Chris Hannigan trying to see if he can set himself up for another attack. Adam Jackson will go to 24th on the timing sheets. As other drivers make their way around slowly but surely, Ron Wolf in his Snickers number 119, seeing what he can do from that 5th position. So we got one car, I think, that just speared off and into the tires. There he is. It's one of the Reese's cars. I believe that to be Ethan Condy. Stopped drivers left on the racetrack. 7 minutes to go, and Ron Wolf was not happy with that lap. He's going to pull it off the racetrack. Kyle Smith will go to 30th place. Stefan Purcell making his rookie appearances here in Season 7 of Beer League competition. Working his way to the start-finish line, and this time by, and no improvement for the 57 car. It is an incredibly competitive field that these guys are racing in right now, and it does make it genuinely a struggle to work your way up towards the top end of the timing sheets when you have a field this competitive in cars that can be so close together. Ryan LeBlanc crosses the line and does not improve. He is over a second off of his fastest time of 1:16.4. And that put him to 23rd on the last lap around. Adam Klein, one of the drivers trying to make an improvement, as Michael Derby will go to 6th fastest on the boards. And no improvement either from Adam Klein. 3 drivers have yet to put down lap times: Giovanni Romano, Robert Kulikowski, and Ethan Condy. Now, Kulikowski on his 6th flying lap now, trying to see what he can do as he looks to work himself up and around. Another one of those drivers is just in front of him, Ethan Condy, trying to make moves as well. In fact, Condy was the driver that was off and I believe into the grass just up the road, and Condy has just looped it as well, and that's going to botch Kulikowski's lap. Giovanni Romano, I am not anticipating to put down a qualifying lap. The driver, the number 99, is very notorious for not wanting to qualify. He loves starting the back, fighting his way to the front. And who knows, when the races are this chaotic with full grids, I can almost guarantee you that is going to be absolutely no different this afternoon. Alexander Klank will go 8th quick on the boards, as the 013 machine will put himself into the top 10, which is not an easy feat when, again, you have 53 cars that are out there trying to qualify for the race. Kulikowski will duck into pit road, and it's crunch time in qualifying. We're into the final 5 minutes. You do not get the chance to complete your lap because of the heat racing format that these guys utilize. So you have got to make these times now. You will not have that chance for that final heater right at the end. Josh Freed bump down to 24th as Adam Jackson will shoot his way into the top 10. He goes 9th quick. Chris Flams, a driver last week that was quite familiar with the sky and, of course, the asphalt, trundles across the line. He will remain 11th fastest on the afternoon here on this Wednesday night. And Cruthers will go back into the top 5. I believe that's, sorry, no, I was mistaken. That was Alexander Klenk that shot his way into the top 3. He goes 3rd fastest on the boards. Baron Morton seeing what he can do. He currently sits 37th. This is his 8th lap to try and put down a qualifying effort. There's a lot of clean there as Justin Hall will go to 10th. And no improvement that time by for Barrett Morton. What can Rodney Flores do in the subway machine? For a lot of these drivers, they're going to be starting their final trips around pretty soon. Only about 2 laps are left in qualifying here for a good chunk of this field. Flores seeing we can utilize this draft, put down a flying lap. There goes, I think that's Alex Cofford that just rejoined behind as Rodney Flores will not improve on his lap times. Can Tanner Klein finally improve? He currently sits 46th out of 50. And no improvement. He will set a 118.6. Not even close to the 115.1 needed for pole position. Oh, and Kulikowski way out wide. Kulikowski only going to have one effort here if he wants to make his way up and around, so he's got a lot of work to do. Alex Coffort's trying to see if he can make his way up and around as well. Cofford trying to see if he can improve on his time to keep himself secure on provisional pole. 1.5 minutes, and no improvement for Cofford. He'll have one final lap, as is the same with quite a few drivers, but for over half the grid, they are now on their final laps. Aaron Thacker working his way up and around. He is going to be one of the drivers that has only got one more chance to improve. Trying to see what he can do as he looks to drag himself out to the line with Tanner Klein and Chris Flams in tow. Neither one of these drivers are going to improve. Aaron Thacker does improve. Thacker into the top 10. Good show of Aaron Thacker. We got cars spinning now behind. Tom Madole will go 13th quick. John Combs, what can he do as he fights his way through the final corner at Oak Tree? Combs only good enough for 18th place. So Alex Cofford will look to be your pole sitter this afternoon, as only 7 seconds will remain in qualifying, and we are just about ready to kick off racing action. There will be no final drivers to put down laps at the line. So with that, let's take a rundown of your starting grid for the sprint race here this afternoon. 15 minutes about to kick off. Started on pole for the Oak Tree Memoriam. It's Alex Cofford with a 115.189 alongside Chris Hannigan on the front row. Alexander Klenk starts third with Keaton Cruthers in fourth. Steve McClendon is in fifth with Ron Wolf in sixth. Tyler Rogstino is seventh. Michael Derby is in eighth. Eric Wanenberg is ninth. Aaron Thacker rounds out the top 10. Adam Jackson starts 11th. Justin Hall 12th. Tom Badole 13th. Chris Flams 14th. Austin Tucker 15th. Nate Brooker 16th. Darren Bai 17th. John Combs in 18th. Rounding out the top 20, it's Alex Harrison and Blake Gambrell. Ryan Verhulst, Jason Lee, Shane Cameron, Jacob Noyes, Jeremy Castro, Josh Free, Brooks Clayton, and Brian LeBlanc will round out the top half of the field. From there, you got Alexander Hammonds, Corey Barrett, Tyler Carlton, Kyle Smith, Matthew Dupuis, Dylan Fisher, Jordan Babcock, Ryan Murphy, Baron Morton, Adam Joseph Milhot, Mac Verstupen, Jonathan Lane, Chris Bright, Ben Williams, Rodney Flores, Stephen Purcell, Morgan Otto, Tanner Klein, Aaron Thacker, Tyler Vienna, Jonathan Lefebvre, sorry, that's Aaron Ziemer, Adam Klein, Giovanni Romano, Ethan Condi, and Robert Kulikowski will bring up the rear with the bottom 3 drivers not able to put down qualifying laps. Drivers are lined up, and you can see how far this grid is backed up all the way around the final corner. It is absolutely insane. There's last place, there's first place, backed up all the way around Oak Tree Bend. This race is going to be nothing short of pure and utter pandemonium. As only about 10 seconds remain before we get racing action underway. The revs start to build. And we're racing for 15 minutes in the sprint. A slow getaway, but a solid getaway from Alex Crawford as it looks to drive away from Chris Hannigan on back. We're 3 wide behind as the pack looks set to fire it up towards that turn number 1. It is going to be an absolute madhouse as this field looking to work its way into turn 1 for the first time tonight. Do we make it through clean? We do not. One car goes spinning off in the background. 3 wide, multiple rows deep in the background, especially as they exit the final corner. 2 more cars getting spun out, but apart from that, we're relatively clean in racing action here this afternoon. Alex Crawford leading the way currently as the rest of the pack dives down through this absolutely monstrously tight circuit. But again, for the most part, we're doing a great job on keeping this race clean in the opening salvo. We're double filing at a high-speed pace. We got 1 car around way in the background, but we're going to keep this shot up at the front here. We got another car that's actually spun around to the exit of the, at the end of the, of Fishhook. We got more cars being turned around at the front of the field now. Overall, Alex Crawford going to lead the way. He takes up lap number 1. While the rest of the pack in hot pursuit just behind. 3 wide and getting bodied off is Chris Flams. He'll be forced to cut the corner as a few drivers being spun out wide. Rodney Flores goes around. Flores turned around back of the pack. Josh Freed was forced into pit road. Looking for a little bit of 3 wide as the pack thunders up. Back to turn 1 for lap number 2. Hard on the brakes and round the long way will go the number 9 of Brooks Clayton. Further up the road, Michael Derby and Nate Brooker. Side-by-side contact and around goes Brooker. Brooker spins into the grass. He'll get himself back rolling. We got door-to-door contact further behind between Clank and Carlton. That's the battle right now for 23rd. For the most part, we're looking relatively safe and sound. There's been a little bit of chaos near the back of the field. You see 1 more car getting turned around there. That is Alex Harrison. That is now facing the wrong direction. So a few drivers having problems. Take a look at what happened to Adam Joseph Milhot and Barrett Morton as this was working up and into the final corner. You can already see cars sideways up the road, and they just got clipped by cars trying to rejoin the circuit. And that is what kind of punted them all around. It was a bit of a catch-22 there for a good chunk of the field. Battles on for 17th. Brooker, Cameron, Flams. Oh, line of stern contact. Look out. Bodied out wide. It's Shane Cameron. He's going to take Chris Flams out with him as they all swing wide. We got another car going around. This is 34 of Jacob Noyes. The rookie being turned sideways at the top of the hill. We still got cars trying to fire their way through the roller coaster section as they work their way down the hill through the spiral and in towards Fishhook. 1 more car gets punted round. Stephen Clinton is also around to the head of the field. McClendon goes around, and Kyle Smith was the one that was facing the wrong way. While more drivers continue to try to consolidate and try to make up whatever positions they can muster. Remember, the top 12 will score points and be inverted for the main event. Nate Brooker and Steve McClendon looking to go side by side as they work through the final corner. Head of the field, Michael Derby and Adam Jackson in a two-wide dogfight for that 6th position. Adam Jackson trying to see what he can do as he looks to take that one the long way around. And the Ruffles machine of Adam Jackson, sorry, that's Aaron Thacker trying to find his way through. Back down through the spiral. I'm surprised we have not seen some bigger incidents here. Well, there we go. Jackson gets punted off. Derby is off. Both cars swinging down wide and nowhere for Adam Jackson to make a safe rejoin. He'll have to do a full 3-point turn. Oh, we got a big mess coming down into, I think that's the final corner or outside of Fishhook. What in the world has gone wrong here? Kyle Smith and Moore being shoved around. This is up at turn 1. So a completely separate incident. Oh, man, way in deep and take out a couple in turn 1. The 74 of Shane Cameron slowing the racetrack. I think he got spun as he's going to get himself righted on that ship. Behind, Jacob Noyes is off again. Ethan Condy is in a bad way. Up the field, the battles continue on. Tyler Augustino, Todd Madola, and more in a battle. You got Justin Hall, Keaton Cruthers, and Jason Lee in a fight. Nate Brooker, Blake Gambrill are in it. Along with more, a lot of the opening carnage has really broken up this field in a hurry on the racetrack. And Cruthers is around, the rookie getting turned at the top of the hill. Into hot, looked like, and just lost the back end all by himself. It's very sensitive rear end. It looks like the car that spun out with him did the exact same thing. That's the 338 that got turned around, and a couple of cars going around up at the top of the hill. More and more cars trying to dice it out amongst themselves. Coming down the hill, Steve McClendon and Alexander Klenk. Three-way battle for 17th with Brian LeBlanc just in front trying to fend them all off. I wish I could give you more information on what was going on in this race, but when you get a race this chaotic, all you can do is report what's on screen and what's on your timing tower and make the most of it. Oh, off the track goes Jeremy Castro, the 24 car, takes it wide. While up the road, Austin Tucker and John Combs. Slice and dice. Oh, and around goes Combs, saves it. He'll hang on. Aaron Thacker will blitz around him. And around to the back of the field goes Blake Gambrill. He'll be dumped outside of the top 20 for because of that. Just behind, Mac Verstappen trying to battle it out with Adam Jackson. Oh, and he's going to get in with Chris Bryde. Oh, and around goes Verstappen. Sorry, no, that's Dupuis that just went around to the back of the field. No, that's Michael Derby. Wrong on 3 counts. Fights his way back on piste. Well, out wide will go Blake Gambrill. I think might be trying to serve a slowdown penalty. And oh boy, they're 3 wide behind. As the pack trying to size each other up. This race already a lot more chaotic than the sprint race from Watkins Glen just a week ago. McClendon during Ron Wolf for 18th. Now is through the final corner. You got Chris Flams, Giovanni Romano making his back-to-front charges in this mix. Trying to see what he can do. Meanwhile, behind, 3 wide down the front straightaway. As Dupuis, Freed, Verstappen, and Gambrill all under a blanket. Oh, and Alex Crawford goes around. The race leader and defending champion is off. Big problems for Crawford, and what has happened here? He had a huge lead. He will have lost this all by himself, and in fact, a bit of a deliberate move. He takes it to the Patriot layout. And he is going to sit and watch the fireworks at one of the best seats in the house, while other drivers like Flams and Mono continue to do battle. Crawford still sitting off the racetrack, and he's just watching. He knows he's got a good seat. He's more than happy to sit there. He's not concerned about the points. He's here for the fun of it. He has mentioned that several times. Oh, man, behind. Some big blocking going on from Chris Flams to keep Romano behind. That type of blocking will be frowned upon in most forms of motorsports, as Romano might be looking to absolutely send him here down to the turn one. They're bump drafting down the front straightaway. And Romano backs off. Flams in a little hot, but he's able to gather himself up. 5 minutes to go. Oh, and around will go Ron Wolf. The 779 tagged around. Loops it at the bottom of the spiral. Brooks Clayton and Nate Brook, another pair that's getting set to do battle. This is for 12th place on the racetrack as they fire their way up and over the rise. Brooker trying to take that one the long way around the final couple of corners at Oak Tree. Can he hang it in there? Whoa, man, Clayton gets loose. And Brooker is through to 12th. Corey Barrett taking a tow back to pit road, and second place runner Ronenberg is spun. Ronenberg was chasing after Chris Hannigan for the race lead and just got punted around, I think by a lap car. As Chris Hannigan is now all by himself. 3 wide again down the front stretch. Morganato, Stefan Purcell, Tyler Vieten, with Adam Klein watching on in the wings. This could usually only end one way. As they work back to turn one, are they going to try for 4? They think about it. 3 wide, still down to the turn 1. And the 57 car Purcell pulls clear from a lot of them. Good show from Purcell, making that 3 wide pass. There's still 3 wide, down to the spiral. That's not going to work. And looking like it was Adam Klein that had the sense to bow out. As one more car goes off up the road. Believe that to be a lap car. No, sorry, that's Blake Gambrill. Very much not a lap car. Meanwhile, Aaron Thacker has been spun around. He was up in the top 5 before this and just took too much curb and loops it by himself off of the final corner. Alexander Klein with the fastest lap of the sprint race at a 1:15.3. 3 minutes to go. 2 or 3 laps left on the afternoon. Ron Wolf, Matthew Dupuis, Keaton Crothers. Oh, nose to tail down into turn number 1, and the 779 pulls clear. And Dupuis gonna drop 2. Ron Wolf secures 23rd from Crothers, 24th, Dupuis 25th. Jumping back up to the head of the field where Tyler Carlton is trying to fend off Ryan Verhulst and Nate Brooker. He's battling for 9th. So this is trying to maintain that run within the top 10. Nate Brooker, the British bomber, looking to get around Verhulst, trying to break his way into his first top 10 of the season in the sprint. And these drivers, remember, are starting darn near the front of this race when we get down to main event action. The rest of the pack firing off in quick succession. We look up to the battle for the number 5 spot with John Combs and Austin Tucker trying to battle it out. We're 2 laps to go in the sprint. Chris Hannigan leading the way by 3 seconds, trying to see if he can stay out in front. Problems for Clank and Mailhot. And this is up into turn number 1. Tip of the back end of the round go. Both cars in the opening corner. Creates a bit of a bottleneck and a traffic jam, but a great job from these other drivers behind to make it through unscathed. There will be less than a minute to go. Oh, man, and a huge spin right in front of Chris Hannigan, the race leader, nearly cleaning him out. Meanwhile, a pass for 5th as Austin Tucker takes it to the inside of Combs, and he's up in the 2-4-3. Ron Wolf spun sideways. And now Tom Madole under pressure. Ronenberg making a run for 3rd. To the inside, and Ronenberg going to pick off Madole behind. Austin Tucker trying to see if he can fight it out with John Combs. And out wide goes Combs. Through goes Tucker. Justin Hall will try to also make a look around Darren By. Still side by side as they approach the spiral, looking to go back down the hill. The 64 and the 22. Duking it out, door to door. And it'll be the 64 Ritz machine that wins out. Chris Hannigan, meanwhile, will remain out in front. The time will expire. This is officially the final lap in the 15-minute sprint. Justin Hall going way off the track, but for Chris Hannigan, he'll work his way off of turn number 4. Turn number 4, the final corner, excuse me. Chris Hannigan, your race winner in the 15-minute sprint this afternoon. Darren By, Ryan Verhulst, Nate Brooker, all in the battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th. To the inside goes Verhulst. He'll pick off By. And the 72 car will secure a 7th place in his first points-paying start. Further behind, Chris Flams trying to out-drag Steve McClendon to the line. Contact between the two as they battle it out. And by less than 100th of a second, McClendon beats Flams to the line. Off the road goes Thacker as more drivers trying to duke it out. Into the final corner, Carlton making a lunge on Purcell. This is for 26th on back. The 45 to 57 and more, all in a straight line as they shoot across to the start-finish stretch. Just waiting now on the last few drivers to come around the stripe here, and then we'll take a look at your official points-paying results. Jonathan Lefebvre with the drive-through for reaching the incident point limit. I'm pretty sure he has already crossed the line, though, so it will not matter for him. As one by one, cars fire across the start-finish line and pull themselves off and into the infield grass. Still waiting on a handful of cars across the line, and we will get those cars across now. So you're going to have yourself with your field set now for main event action. Let's take a quick rundown of what your sprint results looked like for the race here this afternoon. As in the sprint, it was Chris Hannigan, your winner. Augustino second, Ronenberg third, Tom Madole fourth, Austin Tucker fifth. John Combs was sixth with Ryan Verhulst, Darren By, Nate Brooker, Brooks Clayton, Justin Hall, and Jason Lee to round out the point score positions. They will invert for the 1 hour main event coming up in a few minutes. Brian LeBlanc is 13th, McClendon 14th, Chris Flams, Aaron Thacker, Alexander Klink, Adam Jackson, Chris Bright, and Jeremy Castro round out the top 20. From there was Josh Reed, Keaton Crothers, Alexander Hammonds, Matthew Dupuis, Ron Wolf, Tyler Carlton, Stephen Purcell, Tyler Vietnam, Blake Gamble, Michael Derby, Morgan Otto, Ryan Murphy, Mac Versteuven, Shane Cameron, Jonathan Lane, Barry Morton, Dylan Fisher, Jacob Noyes, Aaron Ziemer, Ethan Condi, Jordan Babcock, Adam Klein, Tanner Klein, Kyle Smith, Alex Harrison, Ben Williams, Roddy Flores, Robert Kulikowski, Adam Joseph Milha, Jonathan Lefebvre, Giovanni Romano, Corey Barrett, and Alex Cofford will round out the 53-car grid. So with all of that said and done, we are now in a bit of a warm-up session here. We'll be back in a few minutes for your main event. Don't go away. You're watching the Beer League and the Oak Tree Memoriam on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Pilots go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where we are getting set to go racing once again. We've gotten through with the sprint. We are now setting ourselves up for 1 hour of racing action coming on up next. Boy, if the sprint race is anything to go by, it is going to be a very wild time. Now, this is where it is going to, it's going to get a little bit wild, right? I mean, we got ourselves with some potential weather coming in on the horizon. Now, the weather forecast for this afternoon was looking to be at about 30 to 40%, but you see some dark clouds starting to roll in, so we could get some rainfall on the track before this afternoon is out. Well, that's said and done. We've got 53 cars getting set to line up and duke it out once again, this time for an entire hour of racing action from the Virginia International Raceway. So let's take a rundown then and walk you through the lot of them as we will get set to duke it out for an all-out slugfest in the Oak Tree Memoriam. Starting on the pole this afternoon, Jason Lee, after finishing 12th place in the sprint race, will start on the pole for your main event. Justin Hall starts second, Brooks Quigden third, Nate Brooker fourth, Darren Byen fifth, Ryan Verholsten sixth, John Combs was seventh, Austin Tucker eighth, Tom Badol, Eric Ronenberg, Tyler Augustino, and Chris Hannigan. Hannigan, of course, being your sprint race winner. And now from where they finished in that sprint race, it's Brian LeBlanc, Steve McClendon, Chris Flams, Aaron Thacker, Alexander Klenk, Adam Jackson, Chris Bright, Jimmy Castro, Josh Freed, Keaton Crothers, Alexander Hammonds, Matthew Dupuis, Ron Wolf, Tyler Carlton, Steph Purcell, Tyler Vietnam, Blake Gamble, Michael Derby, Morganato, Ryan Murphy, Matt Verstappen, Shane Cameron, Jonathan Lane, Bear Morton, Dylan Fisher, Jacob Noyes, Aaron Zemer, Ethan Conti, Jordan Babcock, Adam Klein, Tanner Klein, Kyle Smith, Alex Harrison, Ben Williams, Rodney Flores, Robert Kulikowski, Adam Joseph Mailhot, Jonathan LeFevre, Giovanni Romano, Corey Barrett, and Alex Cofford. Once again, drivers getting themselves lined up and raring to go. give the old voice a little bit of a rest here because you know that it is going to get wild here in a minute. This kicks off 9 weeks of racing action with about a 1-week break in the middle of the lot of them. So again, it is going to get a little bit crazy. Don't forget, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here this afternoon, be sure to subscribe to us and check out some of our other shows. Tomorrow night, the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series will swing out to the Kansas Speedway for the second to last race of the regular season before things reset for the chase for the Tires Plus Cup. And then tentatively on Saturday night, the GNGGIL Truck Series will run out to the Talladega Super Speedway barring scheduling conflicts. If there are conflicts, that race will be rebroadcasted up on Tuesday afternoon. Now, Jonathan Lane taking a bold choice. He is starting on wet weather tires. Now, I'm not sure if he's anticipating rain or if this is a mistake, but I know everyone else so far is out on dries. John Combs, Ronenberg, Augustino, and Morton are the only folks remaining that we have got yet to grid on up, and then racing action will get underway. They are holding this start for an awful long time. I think trying to make sure that everyone can get set. Have gotten confirmation from Beer League administrators, by the way. This is the largest field that this series has ever managed to gather for one race, and it is at one of the smallest tracks available. It would not be Beer League without it. Here's where we're going to get to the green flag pit stops as well, or yellow flag pit stops. Remember, there's the possibility for up to 2 randomly thrown yellows. Those can come anywhere from 10 minutes into the race to 15 minutes from the end of the race, and that will bunch the field back up and get ourselves back rolling. Somebody should probably tell Justin Hall that his wheels are turned all the way to the left, or this is going to be a really ugly start for him. That, or maybe he's listening into the Green Flag TV broadcaster, and we can tell him ourselves. This is a long hold. I mean, they almost never hold the field this long. Trying to see what's going on, if there's potentially something that is being waited on. At this point, we're sitting for about 2 minutes longer than we would normally be on the starting grid from the main event. So potentially some issues going on behind the scenes that they are working to get rectified, and we will give you these updates as they are coming to us. The whole field is gridded up. We should be getting underway. So we're not sure what the wait is for here, but you can see everybody very much lined up, nose to tail, and ready to go racing. All 53 cars are on the grid. Even the pace car waiting patiently right at the edge of pit road. Jonathan Lane, the only driver to start this race on wet weather tires. I wonder if there's some oil on the racetrack that they're cleaning up. I mean, that would usually be why you'd see a hold like this, is if track marshals are out there picking some gear up from the racetrack, or picking up some kind of fluid or debris. Do you reckon they're trying to wait for the rain to come in? Ah, finally! We're going to get the signal to go. The revs start to build. We're happy that you're joining us here on this absolutely beautiful Wednesday night for the Beer League. It's go, go, go with the Oak Tree Memoriam. Oh, and one car doesn't get going. Darren By stopped on the start-finish line. The field will scramble around him, trying to make the look around as they fire it up towards turn number 1. Side by side for second on back. Jason Lee pulling clear for this field. They're 3, 4 wide in the background as they look to work their way up into turn number 1 for the first time this afternoon. Deep on the brakes is going to be Nate Brooker trying to go for the race lead as we work through turn number 1. 3 wide, contact! Around goes 2 of the drivers. They save it, and 3, 4 wide all the way back. We're still clean for now. We're going to keep with this aerial shot as you look to work your way down through the keyhole for the down through the spiral towards Fishhook for the first time this afternoon. Getting my tracks and track layouts mixed up a little bit here. The field slicing and dicing. For the most part, we're going to get away completely clean. How about that? As the whole field, in fact, manages to fight the way without a single car going off track until Nate Brooker bends it by himself on the exit of the Fishhook. So the 23 car going to go around. Jason Lee out by over a second already in just the first lap of this race, while the rest of the pack getting set to duke it out after them. Jason Lee leads lap number 1 to green. Hall and Clayton second and third. A few cars swinging out wide. You see one driver flashing the headlights. There are a few drivers flashing the headlights deeper in the pack. And it is a long, long train that fires itself back across the front stretch. You look back to the battle for 9th and 10th. Chris Bright looking to get around Aaron Thacker. Driving it in hard into turn number 1. And then working down towards the key. I keep wanting to call it the keyhole. Through the spiral. Ronenberg gets through. Chris Bright gets through. And Ronenberg will not get through. He tried it, but was not quite successful. Oh, out wide is Max Verstappen, nearly into the Marshall stand there. Oh, and Jackson picking up the right side wheels as Jimmy Castro will get around him. Oh, and now we got a pile up coming through the fish hook, and a few drivers going out wide. Quite a few cars having some issues then as they look to work their way back around, but for the most part, not looking like anything is too serious. Field once again working the front straightaway. You check in on the battle for 7th. Chris Hannigan, the sprint race winner, trying to chase after Todd Madole. Back behind, Bear Morton going off the racetrack. And now Ryan Murphy has been spun around along with Alex Harrison at the back of the field. Take a look. As just a round goes, that's 7:51, and then Adam Jackson just seconds later at the top of the hill at turn 1, having this collision with Alex Harrison spinning off the racetrack. And now Ron Wolf is parked the wrong way. He'll get that car worked underneath him as the rest of the field slices and dices up and around through the spiral and down towards the fish hook. It very much is a very, very demanding track. It is a tricky track, and the yellow flag is out. Wow, that is incredibly early. That is like unnaturally early. In fact, that's rule violatingly early. The yellow flag not supposed to come out until we're 10 minutes in. And that one coming out less than 5. Even on the old rule book, that rule would have been nullified. And it happened right as Ethan Conde goes around. Up on the right side. Crashes back down, goes for a lone spin. And right about here, the yellow flag comes out. So Jason Lee will be up in the race lead as the field will be frozen. Tell you what, we're going to take ourselves a quick step back. We'll figure out what's going on, and we'll be back with more from the Beer League in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be back with you in time. Well, as I say that, Chris Hannigan has just bended under the safety car as he goes around, and this is what happened to him. Now, that is the 57 behind, and around he goes. So, Jason Lee's your leader. We'll be back in a moment on Green Flag TV. Coming back to green on Green Flag TV. Boy, you gotta love technology. This will count as one of the 2 random yellows in the race, and it was just a matter of the bot firing it too early. They have a new caution bot for this one that randomly generates all of these yellow flags, and well, that one just launched it a little bit too early. We're back to Green Flag Racing, though, as Jason Lee gets set to take off in the field. A huge bit of separation, though, all the way to the back of the pack. So this will break up the field in a pretty big fashion. Battle being made for the lead is Justin Hall. Looking to drive around the long way. Oh no, gets taken out. Down to the turn number 1. Castro goes around as well. A couple of cars going off the racetrack. Lee hangs on to the spot. But who gets sacrificed but Justin Hall? As Hall goes flying off the edge of turn 1. Trying to make a run for the lead. It got run over by John Combs. Just clean out down to the opening corner. Tough break for him. The battle is on, though, for Lee. Oh, and around goes Verhulst. Verhulst loses the back end, and that's a bad place to be stopped. Right in the middle of the racetrack. And that's going to send a couple of other cars off as they got a little unsettled trying to get around him. Not an ideal moment there for a few drivers that got involved in this. Take a look back. Just picked up the back wheels, and then here comes a few more that are going to look to get a little bit more unsettled, and one of those was Nate Brooker that ended up being slung out wide. And in fact, he made the same mistake and got punted off by Ronenberg. Checking into the battle for third, Badol, Flams, McClendon. All running line astern as they look to drive it in deep into turn number 1. McClendon can't make the look for 5th, but Chris Flam's going to try to drive around Tom Madole for 3rd. And he'll get there. Tom Madole down to the number 4 spot. As the chaos behind really starting to develop in earnest. He got a few cars off the side of the road, including Kyle Smith and more. Carlton, Hammonds, Clank, 12th through 14th. All in the battle of their own as we're 10 minutes deep into this 1-hour main event. That clock keeps that clock keeps ticking even through the safety car periods. There's no stoppage on time. This race will be an hour in length, regardless of whatever hesitations come throughout the course of this race. Clank to the inside of Hammonds. Secures 13th. How about second? As Brooks Clayton trying to fend off Chris Flams, but Flams is charging. Trying to out his way through, and whoa, boy, a sneak attack from Adol to the inside. Almost puts Flam back a spot. And way off the track goes Michael Derby. Derby way off wide. He got punted out down the hill and just carried up the left sides and spun all the way down the hill. More and more drivers starting to encounter problems as they're going off left, right, front, and center, but we'll focus up on some of these battles on the racetrack with Tom Madole and Chris Hannigan. Oh, off the track goes Hannigan! Madole bullies him off the left side! Hannigan going to tuck right back into the draft as he tries to fight back down the main straightaway. Madole with a flash of the headlights. Behind, Castro and Agostino closing in with a bump draft. Hannigan going the long way around right down in the turn number 1. Can't carry the momentum, and Tom Madole hangs on. Tyler Agostino will now attack Hannigan. And the Oreos machine looking to make a lunge. He's going to get in there. They're side by side behind as well between Jeremy Castro and Austin Tucker. Tucker to the inside of Castro. Trying to see if he can pull that move around the right-hand side. And a few of these guys are really struggling right now, trying to maintain whatever momentum they can muster. You got a few cars off the road. Justin Hall, Adam Klein, Jacob Noyes, all off at the same point of the racetrack, while Chris Flams attacks down the inside of Brooks Clayton for second. That's not going to happen, though. Oh my goodness! Huge off for Nate Brooker and Moore. As they were coming up and over the rise. Take another look as, oh man, they had a huge coming together and then all spun up over the hill and then off and into the grass. That was a huge ride for a lot of the field. And Nate Brooker is sliding right behind one of the Marshall posts. It's a good thing those are unmanned for esports purposes. While Brooks Clayton is being put under fire by Brian LeBlanc, and now Jeremy Castro trying to lunge his way up and around the long way. Alexander Klenk and Alexander Hammonds in a battle of their own for spots further down the running order. And for second, you're watching Stephen Clinton and Chris Flams once again in that dogfight for the final couple podium positions. The Pringles machine trying to see if he can battle to get around Chris Flams along with Bright. Bright gonna look to the inside to try to pick up the run from Flams down the front straightaway. Fight's on for that third place now. As Bright tries to lunge his way up into turn one. It's a long way up the hill. Hard on the brakes. And can he make it happen? Yes, he can. Chris Hannigan to the inside of Augustino. So Chris Hannigan will make a look, and now Tom Badol getting up and into the fray as well. It is intense right now on the racetrack with so much in the way of close quarters dogfight. You take a look at another battle down the field. This is Condi, Fisher, Barrett, Brooker, Babcock. All in line. And off the side goes the 27. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he does. Dylan Fisher going to recover the 27. Sorry, the 21. 21, my apologies. Jonathan Lane off the road, still running those wet weather tires. And Jacob Noyes is getting into the mix as well. Castro, Clank, fighting for 11th and 12th. My, oh my, I mean, the racing action, it doesn't get much better than this in the beer league. And this is what you get when you've got the biggest field that they have ever had in one of these races. The only race that was, the race second to this was, of course, the Leighton Bottle Stock Race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park from last season. And contact! Almost out wide goes Clank as he gets into with Jeremy Castro in the fight for 11th. Second place is on as well as Steve McClendon trying to battle through the field, and he's trying to get around Chris Flams. Flams having some connection issues though. He'll flicker back in and give up the third spot to Chris Bright. So Flams off the podium. And now here comes the field. Augustino, Tucker, the two Tylers, side by side for 7th. We're over 15 minutes into this race, over a quarter distance through. Tyler Viennan and Kevin Crothers looks like they've had it coming together on the racetrack. Take a look back. And Viennan into the back of Crothers. And around they both go as they spear it off into the grass. Quite a bit of lawn care going on in the Oak Tree Memorial. Really making sure we tend to the lawn in honor of that famed oak tree that used to be a staple of the final corner before they cut it down. I believe it was because it had been struck by lightning and had died. Oh, 3 wide, and somehow Hammonds is not punted off the track. He'll drive it out himself. He's got Carlton, Castro, By all tucked up behind him. And the 24 with that car that likes to smile back at you. If you know, you know. Trying to get around Tyler Carlton, and then he got Josh Freed behind him, along with Darren Bai. Again, this is only race 1 of 9 on the season, and this is the type of action we are so used to seeing, and oh boy, couple of cars going around, and that was Brian LeBlanc that was facing the wrong way. We'll keep with this battle because goodness gracious, they're about to wreck again. Aaron Thacker trying to fend off Tyler Carlton. Carlton looking to the inside, and Thacker hanging to the long way around. Keeps him at bay, and Josh Free going to be able to keep himself steady as well. Chris Bright, Chris Flams, Chris Hannigan. You want to talk about the battles? How about the Battle of the Chris's for the final podium position? It's a Chris Fest up here on the podium as Flams to the inside. He'll pick off Hannigan, who picks off Bright. This is what happened earlier to Brian LeBlanc in the number 95 Magnolia machine. And got a bit of a helping hand there from the 26. Spun him around and then got a pretty big hit to the front end. Damage is off, though, for this series, so any damage required will be repaired almost instantaneously. Whoa, and off the track goes Nate Brooker. He'll take Comfort and Purcell with him. Big crash for a few of these cars up at the top of the hill. Take a look. They were looking to go 3 wide, and Stephen Purcell, just sent Nate Brooker into the corner and wiped himself out along with Comfort. Comfort was an innocent bystander in that ordeal. Whoa, and now Carlton going around. And what a good job of saving that 45 car. Meanwhile, Tom Badol, Chris Flams, Tucker, Wright, all underneath each other as they look to work up the front stretch and back to 1. This Battle of the Chris's going nowhere. Hannigan starting to drive away, though. 3 wide again, up into the corner. Not enough, though, to cause any significant worries yet. Key point is yet. There's still a lot of time left. John Combs trying to battle that with Josh Free. This is a little further behind for 13th, and there's your second yellow flag. So remember, we can get up to 2 different full course yellows that are randomly thrown throughout the course of the race, and they both come early. So this will be our second randomized break. From here, we'll be green to the end with non-stop action. So the top 10 runners stand with Jason Lee, Steve McClendon, Chris Hannigan, Chris Bright, Chris Flams, Tom Badol, Austin Tucker, Tyler Carlton, Brooks Clayton, and Alexander Klenk. Your race leader is Jason Lee, and we work with ourselves the second randomized yellow flag of the Oak Tree Memorial for the season opener of the Beer League. When we come back, it's racing to the end. Don't go away. We'll be back soon on Green Flag TV. Welcome back to the Oak Tree Memorial Green Flag TV. We have got just over a half hour of racing left to go. The lights have gone out aboard the iRacing safety car. We are expected to go back to Green Flag Racing this time by. You saw a good chunk of cars coming down into pit road on that safety car period. Now you do have to make one guaranteed stop for fuel service. Most of the other drivers like Jason Lee, Chris Hannigan, Bright, Flams, Badol, and more staying out. So we got a few drivers that will still have yet to stop, while everyone else has come on down for service just to top up on fuel to make it to the end of this race. And they're going to extend this lead as Dupuis has been turned. He is facing the wrong way, and that's causing some problems for the field behind. Why are you trying to turn around that way? Go the other way. It's safer. What are you doing here? And nearly goes into the side of the 44 to boot. What has happened here? He is at the tail of the pacing line, and I think he's downshifted that car too quickly. And that is what has sent the 44 machine of Dupuis around. And I think that may have been what just extended the yellow flag because of where he was situated. Some wave runs going on aboard the on the pacing line as well. Tanner Klein will pick up the lead lap once again. Jonathan Lane will do the same. And looking like Lefebvre will also get a lap back. This is a standard procedure under caution flags to be able to get themselves, for all the lap cars, get one lap back under the safety car period. Oh boy, and the 512 nearly tipping over there. Some top-heavy cars that we got here on the racetrack, and he almost found that Foxtown Brewing machine going up and over. Holy cow. Oh, my goodness. Easy. That's the grass. Oh, no. And he has just taken out the 216 of Alexander Hammonds. Oh, dear. I'm sure Hammonds is not too pleased about that. We'll be able to get that spot back, so that is our second crash under the safety car. Beer League's a wild time. It always is. Lights are out. We will go racing this time by. Oh, dear. There's still wrecking at the CL flag, by the way. Ryan Murphy, Alex Cofford all going around. This is all at the back of the field. What in the world is going on? Well, the pace car is off. Jason Lee has control. We're back to green regardless. And look at the divide in this pack. Because of that late caution carnage. Doesn't stop us going 3 wide, though, as we work back up the hill and down to turn 1. 3 wide, 2 rows deep as they work to turn 1. Now who's going to get squeezed out from the middle? Looking like nobody. And how about that? Around the outside goes Hannigan, looking to take the race lead away. So your sprint race winner. See if he can make a lunge here. He'll get around the 8. Oh, and around goes Lee. And a few cars going off and into the grass. The top 2 being speared off. Chris Hannigan will have a slowdown penalty that he'll have to serve. While more drivers continue to consolidate whatever positions they can muster here. Good gravy. I mean, what a wild turn of events. But the race looking like it'll have the chance to settle down. Now, one thing I feel like I probably should have explained for all of the newer viewers that we've seen so far. You'll notice that on the timing tower and on the timing ticker, vertical and horizontal, some of the driver names have special colors on, a bit of a brighter color. Those are indicating pro drivers from AM drivers. All the drivers that are in those brighter colors, those are pro drivers. Now, pro and AM is based off of your overall pace. So if you're fast enough to be in the pro class, you'll get into the pro class. Now, that can change throughout the course of the season. Last season, Alexander Hammonds started as an AM driver, but after taking race wins in the first 3 weeks, he was quickly promoted to a pro driver. They have their own separate points championship that they're running for, along with the main points championship as well. So right now, it is a pro driver, Chris Hannigan, leading the way, with Lee, Freed, Ronenberg, Madol, and more behind. trying to make whatever lunges they can muster here. Tom Adol, Brian LeBlanc, Giovanni Romano, Darren Bai all in the line. As they drive this one up and around through the South Loop and down towards Oak Tree Bend. Ronenberg to the inside. Picks off Madol. Romano getting in there as well. And that's going to muscle Brian LeBlanc out wide. Darren Bai, Stephen Clinton as well, getting in there. Halfway home. 30 minutes down, 30 minutes to go. LeBlanc and Bai looking to go side by side while Darren Bai almost going off the racetrack. Corey Barrett, Justin Hall, Tyler Augustino also trying to make some looks at whatever spots they can get for themselves. And boy, is it ever tight in the midfield here. As we're looking at about the battle for about 7th all the way back to 19th in one giant train. There's some battles going on deeper in the field as well. As they're going 3 wide back here into the spiral. That's a bold move, and it'll not be a move that'll see fruition. As off the track goes the 44, and that will see Rodney Flores be punted out wide. And oh boy, we got one car off the road. That is Justin Hall. Screams off the racetrack. That lets Romano, McClendon, and Moore all back up through Oak Tree Bend as they look to work back to the front straightaway. Stephen Clendon and Moore all trying to duke it out as best as they can as they look to work their way up the hill in this big scrap for 10th. Romano pulling clear. McClendon side by side with LeBlanc, Ronenberg, and Bai up through turn 1. And LeBlanc able to get himself up into a good position. And some more problems up and down the field, as I think Tyler Vietnan has just had a major issue on the racetrack, as he's going to drop a handful of positions deeper in the pack. And whoa boy, the 34 out wide and the 43 just spins it round at the top of the hill. Causes a few cars to scramble. While here for 9th, Jason Lee really having to work to keep McClendon and LeBlanc behind him. Alba Romano starting to drive away up the hill, and here you can see that long view down the front straightaway. Pulling into pit road is Bai and Barrett. Now these are 3 cars now, Justin Hall, that have not yet come down for fuel service. You have to make one pit stop at least tonight. And we're still waiting for the top 6 to have to come, the top 7 in fact, have to come down as well. So right now, the battle we're seeing on track here, it's the battle for the net race lead. That is why they're fighting so unbelievably difficult. These drivers will cycle through to the front of the race when all the pit stops are said and done. Ronenberg, he'll take up a spot from Brian LeBlanc. Now tries to battle back after McClendon. Jason Lee up the road. A driver that has led so much of this race in the first half. Losing out to McClendon. And Ronenberg trying to push him around through the fishhook. Further behind again, drivers like Tom Adol still packed up line to stern. There's just nowhere for these guys to go. I mean, how are you able to manage something like this? And we've got cars in a pit road. Flams, Hannigan, Hammonds, all into the pits. Those are your top 3. Alexander Klenk, your new race leader, but it will not last. Josh Freed is in as well. Chris Bright is in as well. Brian LeBlanc's in. Tom Adol's in. You see these drivers tumbling through the field as they lose so many positions. Chris Hannigan was leading this race, and he will leave pit road in about 16th. Might fall to 17th as here comes a charge in Alex Cofford. And I don't think Cofford will get there by the time they reach turn 1. Well, he might. Yes, he will. So Hannigan will cycle out in 16th spot after his pit stop. It's a long way that he's lost, and he has dropped now back to 27 seconds behind the race leaders who don't have to pit anymore. Ron Wolf and Jeremy Castro in a side-by-side battle of their own. You take a look at the pit strategy deltas for the top 20, and there you go. It's a good indication. See where that big line separates a lot of the drivers, particularly the guys like McClendon and Augustino. That's where your safety car period came out, and that is where a majority of the field has come down to pit road. Clank and Tucker still have to pit. Lee still has to pit. Hannigan just came down to the pit road this time by with Chris Flams. Clank is in the pit road this time, along with Austin Tucker. Tyler Augustino still trying to see if he can battle back after Brooks Clayton, as John Combs going to briefly disrupt our timing delta as his pit stop situated right at start-finish. So it's showing him as being in the lead. I promise you that is not accurate. There we go. Now it's going to correct itself as Combs will drop back down through the order. And all of this causes some big separation throughout a majority of this pack here, as you got about all the guys that were holding a lot of the field up that had already come down to pit road. Now pitting under green. Chris Flams and Adam Jackson going side by side as Flams will hop down to the inside, and the IPA machine of Flams still struggling to keep that car in the mortal plane. We'll see if he'll be able to get those issues sorted. There's been a few cars that have gone off the road, and you've been noticing Ben Williams slowly dropping through this field. Well, there's a reason for that. Tanner Klein going around as well. We'll take a look at a couple of replays here. This is first off Tanner Klein, and he has looped it at the top of the hill. You see him carrying those right sides as he entered the corner and just spun around. And here is Ethan Condi at the Oak Tree Bend, and I think he got spun off by the 5 and into the tires to boot. Robert Kulikowski having a little bit of a swing off the racetrack, and then Baron Morton was no different. And all of this is kind of showing a lot of that chaos that we just saw. And there you see as well, Morgan Otto getting turned off the road. Now this is the big one that we were just following. It was Jacob Noyes and Alex Harrison having to come in together. And the last but certainly not least, Mac Verstappen having his own little spin. This is in the middle of the spiral. And the 100 Grand Machine just loops it up over the rise. And, oh boy, dangerous rejoin in front of Stefan Purcell. You see Adam Jackson getting around Kyle Smith in the fish hook. Someone in our YouTube chat mentioning that for all the talk that was earlier about wet tires on a dry surface, how some drivers should start investing in off-road tires. I find it hard to disagree, as you see another driver, that is Todd Badol being spun off the racetrack, along with Jacob Noyes being spun off the road. I'll tell you what, these guys will be doing the AMSOIL Off-Road Championship proud here. They should consider a trip out here to America's Motorsports Playground. And man, it was the same car that took out both of them. Wild spin there for Jacob Noyes. Thacker, Verhulst, Carlton. 7th, 8th, and 9th. A little is behind them. Hannigan and Cofford exchanging hands. That was for 11th spot. And now Alex Cofford going to let by Alexander Klenk as well. Into pit road comes Giovanni Romano. Now Romano had already come down into the pit road. So did McClendon. So evidently, looking like the field numbers might not be as secure as we first thought. 2 stops was going to be a requirement if there was only one yellow and you're pushing all the way through. But, I mean, it is worth noting that, for the most part, the field Those yellows both came out before the halfway point. One of them only 5 minutes into this race. Off the road just behind. I think that's Brooks Clayton. Being spun out wide. And he's collided with Verhulst. Oh, no, he hasn't. He did that by himself. Oh, man. Big hit to the door. That's why he was facing the wrong way in the grass. Goodness gracious. I mean, there has been some wild racing here this afternoon. Jeremy Castor, Aaron Thacker, and Tyler Carlton, 3rd through 5th. All starting to look at it with one another as this trio has not been able to break away from each other all race long. And they're in the final 20 minutes now of this race, so time is very quickly starting to run out. Dylan Fisher going to lose 3 spots out of the fish hook. He lost them to Michael Derby, Alex Covert, and Tyler Vietnam. As the minutes and seconds continue to slowly tick away. Derby back to the inside of Vietnam, looking to try to make that lunge up into turn 1. Again, the dumpster fire machine looked to make the move. 3 wide down the straightaway. As Derby going to get himself in as well with Covert. And Derby cuts the course. Covert will steal 2 for 2. Once again, coming on up on Green Flag TV, the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series has their penultimate race of the regular series season before they reset for the chase for the Tires Plus Cup tomorrow night at the Kansas Speedway. On Saturday, it'll be 95 laps, 250 miles around Talladega Super Speedway for the TNGG IL Truck Series. Aaron Thacker will hit pit road. And then, of course, on Sunday, it's a broadcast doubleheader. We will be having in the evening the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series for their final race where they reset for their own playoffs. That'll be at Michigan International Speedway. But before that, in the afternoon, the Classic IndyCar Series rolls out for their first oval race of the year at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You want to see open wheel cars firing into over 200 miles an hour around a 1.5 mile oval? Sunday afternoon has got you covered. Nate Brooker, Alexander Ham is battling for 9th and 10th on the racetrack. And as always, if you like what you're seeing here, be sure to give us a like and a subscribe, and you can check out all of our shows. Almost every night of the week is Off the Road. Goes Castro, turned around, I think, by Carlton. And again, if you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check out our website, www.greenflagtv.com. And there's the hook, the 45 spearing the 24 off the racetrack. For the most part, no harm, no foul. And here comes the rain! Rain falling on the circuit at Virginia International Raceway. Over in the Oak Tree Bend, you can see the raindrops falling. It's out at Fish Hook as well. Clayton's in a pit road. The rain has hit Virginia. And look at all the cars starting to pit for wet tires. Oh boy, this is where it's going to get crazy. Clayton, Flams, Brooker, Jackson, Thacker, all in the pit road. And you can see them going up on the jacks. They're coming out on wet tires here, anticipating that this rain will not go away. Adam Jackson coming back out on dries. Oh my goodness, Adam Jackson not taking tires. But the rain hitting the racetrack now, and you can see a good chunk of drivers are in the pit road. It is raining in the pit lane. You see a lot of these drivers having to share pit stalls. Again, you're trying to split 53 cars amidst just 12 pit stalls. There's going to be some sharing there. And this is where it's going to get real wild. The reason why they wanted this race the reason why they wanted this season is because of the rain factor, which iRacing only recently added into the service. And we're seeing rain starting to kick off in earnest. Quite a few drivers staying out still. They do not believe that it is necessary yet. It is worth noting that with these drivers and with these cars, you can go for a little while on slicks in the wet. And I think some of these drivers hoping that the rain will not be too severe and maybe it'll pass. Oh boy, but you can see now, oh man, Chris Bright in deep. Started to lose traction. Caution window is closed. Not that it wouldn't matter. We were already getting settled for the end of this race. As you see a few drivers making these looks for position down in towards turn one. It is getting ever wetter out there on the racetrack. Tyler Carlton tucked up right behind some of these guys. And now right on board with Giovanni Romano, you can see tucked right up to the back bumper of Austin Tucker. And right now, the spray off the back of these cars is not too bad. I promise you, though, it's going to get bad before too long. Into the pits goes Castro. Into the pits goes Verhulst. Romano and Tucker starting the do battle as they work their way up the road. So Romano, Tucker, McClendon, 7th, 8th, and 9th, still embroiled in a battle for position. Right now, the furthest driver up on the racetrack that's on wet tires is Nate Brooker. He runs 34th. And right now, his lap times are still slower than that of the dry tire runners. I don't know if it was too early for them to switch. I think it may have been a bit too soon for them to make that call to switch. One car goes off the road. That was Blake Gambrill. You're watching Ben Williams and Alex Crawford battling it out for 11th and 12th. And again, these are two drivers that are on dries. Running the slicks, and oh boy, Crawford slips a little bit. Ben Williams driving back around him. Trying to make that lunge as they work their way back through the South Loop and towards Oak Tree Bend. Crawford hanging on to the inside while Williams trying to follow the move around the long way. Up the road, Chris Hannigan to the inside of Clank at turn one. Jordan Babcock and Jacob Noyes in a battle of their own. You can see this track starting to get a little bit greasier. But quite a few drivers, in fact, over half the field still out there on slicks with no concerns about coming in for the wet weather tires yet. It's so close to the end of this race, and I mean, the rain was not anticipated to even come at all at this point, this late in the race. So it's a question of, do you want to take that chance? If you make a strategy mistake now by calling an audible, there's almost no way you're going to make that time up by the end. Austin Tucker, Stephen Clinton, and more all still embroiled in the battle of their own. This is for 8th and 9th, and they're in the midst of quite a bit of lap traffic here, and they're trying to battle around. Fight for third is also on. Clank finds his way to the inside of Chris Hannigan. I don't think it's raining on the front straightaway anymore. The rain looking like it might be ceasing. It's only really raining it down in turn one still. And right now, I'm not seeing a lot of standing water on the racetrack either, which is what the wet weather tires are really for. As you look from above, there's the big battle right now between Clank and Moore. Further up the road, Ben Williams and Keaton Crothers side by side for 12th, and that'll be a battle that Crothers wins out. And the 35 machine of Robert Kulikowski has spun it around, and he is going to be given a drive-through penalty. He has hit that incident limit. You can only reach a certain amount of incident points, and then you're going to be forced down in the pit road, and that would be why that little spin off the racetrack pushed him over the threshold. Alex Harris and Ronnie Flores all having troubles here. Top of the hill, the 71 slipping on the wet asphalt and collecting a few. Augustino's in a pit road. So the battle continues on up the road. You got drivers like Ethan Conti and Brooks Clayton that are off-piste as well. You see the headlights flicking on. Those are the rain lights that are on these cars. And now the windshield wipers starting to activate on these machines as well, showing that the visibility is going to start to get a little bit poorer now. As time moves along, more and more cars continue to trickle into pit road for wet weather tires. That's standing water at the bottom of, oh boy, off the road goes McClendon. But again, my big problem that I'm worried about for this field right now is really down at the fish hook, because it is an area that relies so much on being able to corner well. Can't really do that when you're in the wet. You're on board right now with Chris Hannigan. And again, visibility right now, it's not very poor. There's a bit of spray being kicked up, but it is not unmanageable, but it's getting there. He's lucky right now that he's right behind Alexander Klang, so he's able to make that look. These guys still on dry tires as well. Hannigan to the inside of Klang, trying to make that run through turn one. Can't get the drive going. They're both closing in pretty rapidly on Ron Wolf. We got a three-way fight for the lead on our hands, and all of them on slicks. And off the road goes Clank. Chris Hannigan as well having a problem. I think Chris Hannigan may have punted him. Take a look back. As no, they both went off at the same corner. They made the same mistake. Second and third, still side by side. Ron Wolf's now pulled out a 3-second gap as a result of the mishaps that they both had. Hannigan secures the spot. And Hannigan immediately into pit road. That would be for wet weather tires, I reckon. And Adam Jackson going around. Tom Madole going around. Derby, Condi both around. This is Ethan Condi going off the road. Just looping the back end, and then right behind him, this was Ethan Condi having an off. It's getting hairy out there on the racetrack now, but still not unmanageable. It's coming down now, though. Chris Bright going to be overtaken by John Combs. And the 63 car has been given an incident penalty. That is Tanner Klein. The 63 machine going off the road at the Oak Tree Bend, and that'll put him down to pit road with a drive-through penalty. Josh Freed and Tyler Augustino looking to get in there as well. Right now, Augustino, the first driver in this field that's on wet weather tires, and the 69 has got to look out. And the 751 loses it right in front of him. This rain, man, I mean, it is picking up, and it is picking up in a hurry. Oh, boy. Ronenberg with a huge step out. Nearly gets into the back of McClendon. You're right on board now, and you can tell that visibility, it is starting to be impacted here. Especially when you're in all that spray. And it's not going to get any easier for these guys. Condi now with the drive-through, and around goes the 83 of Corey Barrett. The Cheez-Its machine is around. Tucker now under fire from Cofford. Cofford fights to a podium, still on slicks. I think he's trying to commit that he's hoping that he'll be able to hang on. The lap times have dropped off 5 or more seconds now from the fastest laps of this race, really having to slow it down with all of the water on the racetrack. Just behind, Ron Wolf and Chris Hannigan almost getting into it. They may have gotten into it. Clank, meanwhile, 12.7 seconds ahead of Romano. And again, all of this is on dry tires right now for Clank and Moore. The first wet weather tire runner is Agostino, who runs in 10th. It is continuing to get nervous. Hannigan again trying to attack Ron Wolf down the inside of the South Loop and into Oak Tree Bend in the final couple of corners. Less than 5 minutes to go. Hannigan sweeps through. Dylan Fisher and Eric Ronenberg both going around. And that was up at turn 1. There goes Fisher, and Ronenberg gets in there as well. There was a few cars that bottled up at turn 1. McClendon was among them. And now Crawford off piste. And they're still sliding in. Crawford with a wild spin off the track at the bottom of the spiral, and then flying in was the 95 of Brian LeBlanc. Nearly going around. Jason Lee trying to put Chris Flams under fire, and all around goes Lee. Taken out by Hammonds. Was already getting loose, and Hammonds finished the job. And a huge lunge to the inside. Nate Brooker picks off Ryan Verhulst. See a lot of these cars really starting to twitch and fidget under the brakes here. And these cars are on wet weather tires. There you see the 13 going off. Clank and Hammonds around again. Goodness gracious, it is getting ugly out there on the racetrack. Thacker, Hall, Clank, and Hammonds, I think all off at about the same corner. There you see Aaron Thacker going around. He's going to take Justin Hall with him. Now, where does Clank come into all this? Or was this was even further down the road. There you see one car getting turned off the racetrack. There goes the 45, and man, they all went around at the bottom of the spiral. Pandemonium at America's Motorsports Playground as drivers struggle to retain whatever grip they can get. Freed off the road for another time. And Clank losing a lot of ground with that spin. Romano is down in just 6 seconds with 2 minutes to go. If Clank makes one more mistake, Romano could go for it here. While Clank looking to become the first point-scoring winner of the season. Oh, and around he goes! The race leader around to the top of the hill! Big trouble for Clank. Here comes Romano. Romano is through to the lead. Alexander Clank still about 4 seconds back, just over. And Romano is not a driver that's free of mistakes himself. Whoa, as he bobbles out right there. Remember, Romano running on slicks. He is very susceptible to the challenges of the rain. Oh my goodness, I just had my event recorder light up like a Christmas tree. Agostino, Purcell, LeBlanc, Kulikowski. Take a look into turn 1. As the round goes 1, and here comes the party. Everyone just shunting in behind. Goodness gracious. Everyone piling in. Giovanni Romano starting the final lap from the Oak Tree Memoriam. The 187. Given a drive-through for incident limit, that is Ben Williams in 13th. given a drive-through penalty, and oh no! We've had a big crash on the front straightaway. Jeremy Castro and Brooks Clayton, both around. Oh my goodness! What happened there to Brooks Clayton? It looked like Clayton turned dead right. But I'm gonna hold my tongue for a moment here. We'll back this up a little bit more. Right on the board, did he hit a patch of standing water to kick him sideways? Over the hill. No, he just turned right. What was that all about? Brooks Clayton absolutely taking out Jeremy Castro for no reason. Giovanni Romano, meanwhile, trying to hang on for the race lead. Jacob Noyes given a penalty for the incident as Romano works his way through Oak Tree Bend. And in a wet weather race, oh, Romano spins! Oh no! Here comes Clink! Clink will steal it back! And Clink in the wet weather will steal the win back! Snipes it as Romano bends it off the final corner! Heartbreak for the 99! He'll out-drag Crawford for second and puts him in the wall to boot! And they're fighting on the racetrack! We're going to war in Virginia! Oh my goodness, and we're wrecking it big time after the checkered flag. Romano turned dead left to keep cover behind him. And here comes the party. As one by one, drivers work their way back to the start-finish line. You still got more problems though. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I did not think that would go down the way it did. Take another look. We'll jump back to the lead-up coming to this one as Romano working his way to the final couple of corners. It's going to go horribly awry for the 99 here as he's going to work out of the final corner. He had it won. And he just picked up the throttle too eagerly on that AstroTurf, and it looped around because it was all wet. Clank went through to take the win. Romano at this point knows he's in a drag race. There's Alex Crawford right on board with him. And now watch this here as Romano turns dead right to put him in the wall to keep him in the number 2 spot. Oh boy. It is getting antsy on the racetrack, and all of that will take us to a shocking conclusion this afternoon. What a wild ride this was from the Oak Tree Memorial. Let's take a rundown of your official post-race results here at the end of the day. Clank with the win by 9 seconds. Romano outlasting Crawford by putting him in the wall in the final lap. Tucker went with 4th. Hannigan was in 5th. John Combs, the first AM driver, in 6th, and also one of the drivers on dry weather tires. Ron Wolf was 7th. Tyler Arcstino was in 8th. Chris Bright was 9th. Josh Reed in 10th. Nate Brooker, Ryan Verhulst, Chris Flam, Stephen Clinton, Ben Williams, Shane Cameron, Tom Adole, Keaton Crothers, Eric Ronenberg, and Jason Lee rounds out the top 20. Tyler Carlton, Adam Jackson, Alexander Hammonds, Justin Hall, Jordan Babcock, Jeremy Castro, Brooks Clayton, Dylan Fisher, Aaron Thacker, and Brian LeBlanc for the top 30. Continuing on down through the field, you've got Corey Barrett, Tyler Vieten, and Darren Bai, Michael Derby, Barrett Morton, Morgan Otto, Alex Harrison, Stephen Purcell, Adam Joseph Milhot, Ethan Conti, Rodney Flores, Jacob Noyes, Kyle Smith, Ryan Murphy, Blake Gamble, Aaron Zemer, Tanner Klein, Robert Kulikowski, Matthew Dupuis, Mac Verstappen, and Jonathan Lefebvre to close out the field. A wild, wild, wild race from Virginia International Raceway. And let's take ourselves with a rundown to the top 3. And we'll see if we can't get a chat with the drivers that end up coming home as the top 3 runners. And we'll start things off first and foremost with Alexander Clank, who will join us up here in the broadcast booth. And Alex, Oh boy, that was a race and a half for you. I mean, it was looking like it was over when you bended out of turn 1, but then coming through the final corner, you see Romano in the grass. What goes through your head when you see that on the racetrack?
Yeah, I saw him take a lot of the exit curb, and then it bit him. So I was like, this is just kind of unbelievable. Just sort of laughing across the line.
Overall, I mean, it was a wild night indeed, and I know the rain really came to shake things up. Did the rain help or hinder you overall in racing action tonight?
I would say it helped because I think I was a little faster in it than was it Chris Hannigan, who was in the lead for a while, and he was pretty tough to catch in the dry, but the rain made it tough, but it helped me in that regard.
It's a good way to kick off a title offensive here with a race win in the season opener. What can we expect to see from you then in the coming weeks?
Yeah, hopefully more of the same. I haven't driven this car much, so it's fun, and the rain possibility definitely adds an exciting variable.
Well, we'll get set to see you next week then. For now, congratulations on your first race win of the season, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
That was Alexander Klenk joining us up here in the broadcast booth, and we'll run down now to Giovanni Romano, a driver that came so close. Romano, it is once again a last-to-first type of challenge for you, and coming up just short this afternoon. Walks through the final lap.
First of all, are you not all entertained? Because that was pretty freaking wild. And yeah, last lap. The last lap was literal ice. My God. That oak tree there, last corner, I didn't even shift it down to first. I kept it in second. Like, I don't need first gear. I'll probably spin if I use first gear. Let's use second. And then I drove on the curb, and that's bad in the rain, don't you know? And it did the spin. But as much as that upsets me, I'm sure that was really entertaining on the broadcast. So that's good.
Kind of walk us through, because even then, it didn't quite end for you. Coffer was running you down off the final corner. What happened between you and him coming to the checkered flag?
Oh, I blocked the hell out of him. Yeah. That's one of those things where it's in the real world. You don't do that because you're demolishing your car. But in the sim, you throw a cheeky block. Not a big. I'm not sure if he would have gotten me. I looked at the replay. I don't think he would have gotten me necessarily. It would have been closer, but yeah, it's spicy.
Overall, a wild night for you. We saw you take the race win in season number 5 in cars that also run the production car challenge with the Mustangs. Will you be going for another title offensive here in season 7?
I think it's going to be difficult, very difficult this season, because there's points given out for the sprint race, and I'm intentionally not, going for points in the sprint race, which means it's an extra it's an extra handicap. So championship will be very difficult to go for, but I'm definitely gonna keep going for podiums and race wins. Enjoy the challenge. The field's so big now, and now we got this weather shenanigans on top of it. It just it's very fun.
Well, we'll get set to see you next week, but for now, congratulations on taking number 2, and we'll see you next week as always.
Thank you.
Giovanni Romano taking home the number 2 position, and that moves us to the third and final driver on the podium. Alex Crawford picks up third at the end of the night with a plus 50 drive for him on the evening. Alex, let's start with the elephant in the room. What was your perspective on what happened there off the final corner?
With Gio? Or
that'd be the
with
one.
Me? He's pretty new to sim racing, and he's learning. He'll get there. He's obviously kind of a novice. No, I'm kidding. Gio's amazing. I can't really talk smack when I monster trucked on the last lap at Fuji a couple seasons ago from like a huge lead and lost. So I feel like if I say anything, that's kind of double standard. But I definitely was excited to see it, and I thought I might have a chance at second, and I was just like a little bit too slow.
So no hard feelings then over being blocked into the wall there on the front stretch?
No, like honestly, No. We're just having a good time and stuff like that. If it was not the last lap and he's doing that and it affects me in the future, blah, 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 then yeah. But no, Gio's an awesome dude. And for that, like, I also could have just moved to the left farther, but I was like, no, my ego says I will not budge.
Well, kind of walk us through what the weather looks like this afternoon. Obviously, today, the rain came late, and you and a few opted to stay out on dry tires. What contributed to staying out on the dry tires this afternoon? And is that going to be a recurring strategy in the future with the weather?
It's, okay, so I was in a position, I got wrecked out a couple times by some back markers early on. And so I was in a really poor race position all race. And so when the rain started coming, two things happened. One, a couple raindrops fell, and that's when people started to realize that they weren't really sure what the weather was going to do. And so I naturally did what all racers do, which is lied my butt off. And I was like, wow, it's really slick, guys. It's really slick. And a whole bunch of people pit. Not saying it's related to me, but I'll continue to lie as much as I can. But in my position, it was pretty simple. If I pit for wets, that's 35 seconds for tires in addition to drive time on pit lane. Like, there's no realistic way that I even finished top 10. The only way I had a chance at a win, even an outside chance, was staying out, letting other people pit, and the rain not getting worse. So it was the risky strat. It probably was not the smart strat, because if it got any worse, like, we would have been dead in the water. But luckily the weather was just good enough for us to hold on a little bit. We were slow and a little bit dangerous, but such a short period of time, we're good. Will I do it in the future? I'm going to try to do the opposite if I'm in the position where I'm behind people. That's going to be the way that I'm going to gain the most places. And if I'm up front, then I'll probably play it a little bit more conservative.
Sounds like a plan. We'll get set to see you next week. Thank you for the insights as always, Alex, and we'll see you then for round 2.
Thanks, man. Have a great night.
Alex Carver joining us up here tonight from the third place on the podium. And, well, for us here from Green Flag TV, that is going to be a wrap then on tonight's racing action. What an absolutely wild ride it was. Don't forget to check out the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series. 2 races remain before they reset for the chase of the Tires Plus Cup, and that'll all be coming at you on Thursday night with, of course, the Classic IndyCar Series also returning on Sunday, where they go to America's home for motorsports to duke it out for 208 laps around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. All of that and more on Green Flag TV, shows almost every night of the week. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name, as always, is Nolan Rempel. Thank you for joining us up here tonight. We'll see you all next week when we go racing in the Beer League.